Hey, in this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, we have second gen Ryzen's. Intel and AMD have a love child, and XPS 15, 13, all kinds of XPSs, and love from Lenovo, and a whole lot more. So stick around. Welcome back to another episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. I am Dave Altavilla, and with me are the illustrious and incomparable Marco Chiappetta and Paul Lilly. Marco, fresh back from the City of Sin, Las Vegas, CES 2018. Paul, hanging loose, as always, out in Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Paul, let's go to you. Paul, let's go to you first, since you have the tropical weather out there, you jerk. How you doing?
We do. We are mid-60s, and in fact, I think after this, I'm going to go uncover my motorcycle and go for a ride. So have fun in your neck of the woods.
Break out the hog, huh?
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Marco, you're back from a rainforest out there, huh? In scenic Las Vegas.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We had a torrential downpour, so parts of Vegas were flooding. And apparently right now, as we're going live on the show, the Las Vegas Convention Center has lost power. So there's no power at CES right now. Everybody's in the dark. So
that must be fun. Yeah, that must be that must be, 100,000 people with no juice looking for Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, 200,000 people with no juice.
Yeah, maybe only 150,000 in the convention center at a time. I don't know. How many does that place hold? Crazy.
I have no idea.
Wild. So you're back. You're slightly jet lagged, but you went down to scenic LV town and drank from the fire hose. That was technology, huh?
I did. Front loaded the trip, so I know CES is just starting, and I'm already back. But spent almost 5 days out there, met with a whole bunch of companies, saw lots of cool stuff already. We have tons of stuff up on the site that we aren't going to be able to cover here. We're going to cover some of the highlights, so make sure you come by the site and check out the rest. But yeah, lots of good stuff in my short time out in Vegas.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, it's always a hustle and a little bit of a hassle and a whole lot of fun with the crowds and the absolutely relentless schedule that we inevitably are on. But press tends to head out there early, a few days early before the show starts, and then we usually get out of Dodge like a couple of days or a day into when the show starts, just to keep life simple, right?
Exactly.
Before the power goes out. That's a good move on Marco.
you meant to do that. Exactly.
He's the one that tripped over the power cord on his way out.
Yeah,
I set up an EMP as I was leaving.
The zap gun, man, unbelievable. Well, anyways, let's dive in. We're back again on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock. Will be our regular slot here at Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, the webcast on tech, where two of us are mostly sane and one of us is probably not fully stacking a deck. So anyways, let's dive into the headlines and some of the sights and sounds of CES, some of the highlights, the products that stood out for us. Marco, you spent some quality time with the folks at AMD to discuss their second gen Ryzen and Threadripper, as well as next generation 7nm Vega mobile GPUs. What do you know? What can you tell us? And would you have to kill us if you told us, I guess?
I know a lot at the high level, a little bit of technical detail, but it's all good stuff. So AMD actually revealed a whole bunch of stuff at CES, or I should say just before CES. They kind of kicked off CES with their own little event and revealed everything from new mobile Ryzen chips to future-looking 7nm Vega-based GPUs. So let me just start quickly with the mobile Radeon stuff, because it's just an iteration of what's already out there. So we've actually shown you already some notebooks powered by mobile Ryzen 5. The Ryzen 7 was announced alongside that. So AMD has completely fleshed out mobile now, and Ryzen 3 mobile parts are coming to market. These are dual and quad core parts that will be used in entry level and mainstream notebooks. Architecturally exactly the same as the previous chips, but now we'll have some more affordable options with Vega graphics. So you know, a quad core Ryzen chip is plenty powerful, and you pair it to a Vega GPU, and you end up with, you know, a competitive CPU architecture in mobile to Intel, but with much better graphics. So these should be interesting for guys that don't have quite the budget for a higher end notebook, but want that Vega graphics goodness.
Interesting. So Ryzen 3 2300U and 2200U. John, I don't know if you can scroll down the page a little bit and show that slide where we've got some of the models, speeds and feeds up. Looks like 3.4 gigahertz boost, 2 gigahertz base. Looks like the 2200U is a little bit higher base clock and about the same boost clock. 2 cores in the 2500U, so dual core there, and then a quad core on the 2300U.
So 2200
interesting
is
though,
a dual core, but with SMT, so you get 4 threads. The 2300U is a true quad core, but no SMT, so 4 threads. But notice in terms of the GPU, it's really chopped down in the 2200U. It's 3 compute units, and in the 2300U, it's 6 compute units. In the Ryzen 5 HP-based notebook Dave reviewed, it had 8 compute units. So GPU performance will be lower, but you still have all the you know, Radeon software goodness that goes along with it.
Interesting. I mean, when I looked at the 8 compute unit strapped Ryzen 2500U, I guess it's a Ryzen 5 2500U. With 8 compute units, it was in some games and, you know, graphics workloads in general, it was roughly 2x, if I can remember my aging brain, roughly 2x the performance of integrated Intel graphics. So with 6 compute units and 3 down the stack a little bit more with these new Ryzen 3s, you think they're still going to be able to edge out Intel, or what's your gut feel? Obviously, these are for thinner and lighter machines.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of frame rates, it depends where the bottleneck's going to be, because it'll have similar memory bandwidth most likely. Not everything is compute bound, but even if it's neck and neck, the Radeon drivers are far superior than Intel's for gaming. So it is what it is. It's not going to be a high performance solution, obviously, but it is going to have, you know, all of the features and goodness of Vega.
Yeah, if we did the math, just, you know, back of the napkin kind of thing, nothing, you know, confirmed here. Obviously, if we did the math, you would think a 6 compute unit could still edge out the Intel integrated solution.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Yeah, interesting to see how that pans out. What did you see on what do we know about the desktop side of things with Ryzen desktop and Threadripper as well, which now we're going to get a 2nd generation of that processor family as well.
Yep. So we know quite a bit. Before I do that, just super quick, AMD also showed Ryzen Pro mobile parts, basically all the same specs as the consumer variant, but with all the manageability and security that you sort of need for enterprise and commercial. Now, in terms of desktop, so I don't have speeds and feeds, but what we do know, basically, Zen Plus looks like a nice little bump in performance. So AMD is going to be launching in April 2nd generation desktop Ryzen processors. These are not Zen 2. This is an iteration of the existing Zen. It's Zen Plus, but the chips are going to be produced at 12 nanometer. There are some tweaks to the silicon, to the design, to help with latency and cache performance. And we're being told lower power and higher clocks. Now, over and above that, there is also a new boost algorithm, new Precision Boost 2. So with existing Ryzen processors, you had single core boost and all core boost. You know, it was no matter what the thermals said, no matter what was going on in the chip, you had those were kind of set variables. With Precision Boost 2, the chips are going to take into consideration power and thermal limits. So you could theoretically have all cores boost up to the same speed. You're going to have better boost performance instead of and a more gradual drop off, not sort of boost here or boost here. It will, you know, have sort of the ability to taper there. So all told, incremental upgrades. But if AMD really does improve latency, they improve frequencies, and you have more performance from boost, it should be a nice little bump in performance. You know, we saw current Ryzen versus Intel's 8th gen. Intel has a single thread lead. In terms of multi-threaded, AMD's either right there or better, But now if you sort of boost everything across the board, it gets more competitive. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, in addition, there's going to be a new chipset. It's the same piece of silicon, but the X470 chipset that's coming for 2nd Gen Ryzen is optimized for these new chips. I'm going to assume it's just, firmware tweaks plus maybe power delivery tweaks. And those two together should make for a compelling platform. And because these are coming, AMD also announced big price cuts on the current Ryzens. The 1800X, which was a $500 chip, is dropping down to $349 this week. So that's really cool.
Nice. And Threadripper, I'm sure folks are always interested to hear about Threadripper. I don't know if they give you much detail on that, though.
No detail other than to say the new Zen Plus cores will be used on a new Threadripper, and those are coming in June. So 2nd Gen Ryzen desktop coming in April, and 2nd Gen Threadripper coming in June. Nice.
So with the improved latency and I guess enhanced boost management, you think they'll close that gap on lower resolution gaming, 1080p gaming that they had versus Intel? Think they could?
I don't know. Potentially. It's only going to get better. Whether they close it, probably not completely, because it did require game optimizations for the Ryzen platform. And, it doesn't matter if they release new chips. It's up to the game developers to sort of fix that. So I do expect it to be better. I don't expect it to completely close the gap across the board. Does it matter? Not really. It's still fast enough.
Interesting stuff. We don't have this on the rundown for today, but AMD seems to be in a very good position to capitalize here on a situation with Meltdown and Spectre, the vulnerabilities that affect, in some cases, all CPU architectures, but specifically Intel's got one of their very own to themselves. I forget, is it Meltdown? I think that affects only Intel. Anyways,
yes,
one of those two baddies. Yeah. You've got a refresh here coming that's going to optimize performance for AMD. You've got Intel scrambling on at least a PR nightmare with this thing, and actually probably feeling a little bit of pain. I actually read some headlines that we had published out today that word is some of the cloud data center OEMs are and ISPs are looking at alternatives to Intel as a result of this little scare. I think it makes, it's prudent to investigate. You always want to have a backup plan anyway, so that makes sense. I'm not so concerned, but it's interesting, with AMD here, really, got a nice opportunity in CPUs versus Chipzilla, right?
Yeah, I think Meltdown and Spectre ultimately are going to be a whole lot of nothing in the long term. Short term, we're hearing, performance issues with the patches, blah, blah, blah. With these quick fix patches, yeah, I have a feeling long term it's going to be negligible and it's not going to be an issue. And these really, when you dig in, they're not flaws in the chips. It's a fundamental, the way these out of order processors work and how their prefetchers work, it's sort of just a fundamental side effect of the architecture. It's not necessarily a flaw. It was a new discovery in computer science, basically. So,
yeah.
There's lots of smart people working on this stuff, and I have a feeling they'll be able to mitigate it with the least amount of pain for everybody. Right now is the crazy time because all the headlines are kind of out there, but long term, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue.
I would agree with you. That was exactly what crossed through my brain. Was there's a lot of smart people in Intel that have been designing CPUs and designing CPUs that have to work with software for decades now, for a very long time. And you would think that they have this, right in their sights to clean up quick. So, yeah, I don't think the sky is falling either.
Yeah,
but so interesting stuff.
Yeah, we've been talking minutes. The most, what may be the most exciting to everybody. There are AMD announced 2 new GPUs. There is a mobile Vega coming, a mobile discrete Vega chip coming. no speeds and feeds given, but that is on the way, and it has a really low 1.7 millimeter Z height, so it can be used in nice thin and light platforms. It's about half the height of a typical discrete GPU. And there is also a 7 nanometer Vega GPU on the way that targets machine learning applications specifically. Again, no specs, but you have to guess at 7 nanometer, they're going to throw a ton of shader processors in there and get some crazy kind of compute performance out of it. And just while we're talking, before I miss it, Blackhawk just asked a question. He says, "What are our thoughts about Intel CEO selling his shares before the news broke?" It's totally not news. It was a scheduled thing that was going to happen no matter what. It was disclosed beforehand. The timing seems shifty, but it's not totally not an issue. This was something that was basically coming down the pipeline already.
I will say this about that, and that's an interesting topic to look at and call out by Blackhawk. Thanks for cueing us on that. But yes, I think the timing is, almost irrelevant. I don't think it sounds like, maybe it could be fishy, but it's really probably not. These kind of things are planned for a long time. However, what is a little bit concerning for me is a CEO that drops his share percentage in the company, his ownership in the company, down to the minimum requirement for to be CEO of the company. That doesn't sit right with me. I'm kind of thinking why, it doesn't instill a whole lot of confidence, but really at the end of the day, you can only speculate. These guys have lots of reasons for doing it. There's millions of dollars at play. And if you felt like you wanted to cash in on some of that, then that's when you do it, right? Taking money off the table when it's worth millions is never a bad thing. So interesting, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know how much you can read into it, but it doesn't instill confidence. I would say that, you'd want to see the CEO have a little bit more skin in the game, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
Whatever. Whatever. What do we know? We're just geeks, right? We don't deal with the finances.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm never going to pretend to understand the finances. I've seen some of the most amazing tech get announced and the stock tanks the next day. So whatever.
Yeah. Playing the street is like, forget about it. Yeah. Talk to your buddy Mario, right?
Exactly.
Hey, Paul, what do you think?
I have a question for you, Marco, on the
sure,
the
talk
GPU
to me.
side. Did AMD say anything about Vega availability going forward? Because I was looking on Newegg today. They have exactly 2 consumer Vega SKUs on there, the 56 and the 64, both out of stock, and it's been that way for a long time. So it's, I like what they're doing on the CPU side, but when I hear what they're doing on the GPU side, it's hard to get excited seeing how Vega was kind of a thud, in my opinion, up to this point.
Yes, they actually did sort of talk about it. They did not directly address it, but one of the questions that was asked there was a rumor that AMD is not making any more Vega 64s and 56s. What's out there is out there, and that's it. So that's sort of a half truth. The Vega 56 and Vega 64 was actually the fastest ramp in AMD's history, according to them. It's lots of miners are gobbling them up. And the fresh wave of Vega 64 and 56s that are coming within the next few weeks are all custom partner boards. So normally there's sort of a transition period from reference designs to custom boards, and there's a little bit of overlap. That's still happening, but the Vega 64s and 56s that were produced by AMD sold much faster than anticipated. So now there's a bit of a gap before the custom boards come. That's why we're in this weird availability scenario right now. There should be more availability in the coming weeks, but there will be custom boards from partners.
Custom.
Make sense?
Does that work for you, Paul? You okay with that?
We'll see. Like I said, Vega's been disappointing as far as availability so far, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I heard stories out there of people trying to buy 1,000 at a time, miners, basically buying them all up. So that's it. That's where the availability is. The miners are literally gobbling them all up.
That is amazing. It's affecting both the red and green team. And yeah, I mean, yeah, they're just killing the fun for everybody, for all the gamers. But there's gold in them thar hills, I guess. Anyways, let's move along to something that's. Are we done with AMD at CES for now?
Yeah. If I miss anything, come comment on the article. We'll try to answer in there.
There you go. Well, let's move on to the birth of AMD and Intel, or Intel and AMD's, however you want to view it, their love child. It's amazing. It's like cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. What's that from Ghostbusters, right? I mean,
yep.
Unbelievable kind of thing. Who would have thunk you would have ever seen Intel and AMD working together? But indeed, Intel has released a chip, the 8th generation core processor with AMD Radeon RX Vega M graphics unveiled. We have full details and disclosures on the site, and actually stay tuned in the next maybe even hours. We will have performance details from Dell's laptop, the XPS 15 2-in-1, which employs this chip. But what you're looking at here is a quad-core 8-thread CPU complex, Intel 8th generation core Kaby Lake R processor for notebooks, coupled with, on the same chip, with the EMIB, the embedded multi-die interconnect bridge technology that Intel employs, coupled with an AMD Radeon Vega RX Vega, M mobile graphics chip, a 20 compute unit, which is no joke when you consider, Ryzen mobile right now, it tops out at 10, a 20 compute unit custom solution for Intel, and 4 gig of HBM2, all on one piece of PCB substrate, which is essentially a multi-chip module, chip and wire. You can see the individual dies when you look at the chip, and it is all in one package for thin and light notebooks. And what's amazing is companies like Dell and HP, we've seen 2 models now hit the market initially that were announced at CES. Dell with their XPS 15 2-in-1, and HP with the Spectre X360 15-inch model, also a 2-in-1. You've got 2-in-1 thin and light 15-inch notebooks. I think you're talking about the 5-pound weight class, roughly. Not too heavy, not a boat anchor by any stretch, but 15-inch format, so a little bit larger, a little bit more thermal area. Able to harness the power of this chip, and we're getting some early numbers in. It's impressive. Chris, you're in the audience, I believe. Chris Getting is out there at CES for us, and he said the thing is no joke. It's the real deal. He saw the XPS 15 2-in-1. It is the real deal. Stay tuned. We're going to have some data on that, but impressive stuff. We've got multiple flavors of the processor. All of them boost, well, almost all of them. They boost right on up to 4 gigahertz. You've got 4.2, 4.1, and 3.8 on the Core i5 variant. But Core i5s through Core i7s, quad-core 8-thread chips with 8 megs of cache. Again, that 4 gigs of HBM2 and 20 compute units in some cases of Radeon RX Vega M GPU horsepower on board as well. So good stuff. There is a family of products, 5 SKUs in all from Intel. I'm not sure what's in that XPS 15 2-in-1. We're going to have to look at that. I'm sure Chris has some data on that, but it's out there. It's real. And we have been told it'll be shipping in sort of the late spring timeframe. I think May, June, roughly, is what the folks I think at Dell have been sort of rumbling this thing will be ready, but it's already up and running. And we saw it, playing Tomb Raider for one thing. So we've got some numbers coming in on that. But guys, what do you think about this? Paul, why don't we go to you? The birth of Intel and AMD's love child in silicon. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. We heard about this when they announced it a while back, and it was exciting. Now it's actual product that they're showing off. It has the potential to be game-changing, I think, because we're getting the best from Intel with their core CPU, and we're getting AMD's graphics, which has always been very good, especially in mobile. So it's exciting to see what they're doing with this.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you look at what they can do with 10 compute units in Ryzen mobile currently, imagine this chip with 20 compute units, theoretically twice the horsepower. We don't know what, well, we do know what the clock speeds are, up to 1.1 gigahertz for the graphics cores. So no slouch there either. Marco, what are your thoughts looking at, I guess, the speeds and feeds and the CPU and GPU resources on this chip. What do you think it's going to be able to do? Looks pretty solid on paper.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. It's also, we're going to talk about it shortly, but it's also in a next gen NUC. And I believe you mentioned June timeframe. I thought I heard March for the Dell machines.
You might be right.
We have to double check that. Yeah, I think it's early spring, not late spring. But yeah, so there's lots of things to consider with this chip. So because it's a multi-chip package, not one piece of silicon, it's probably a little easier to manage thermals. Intel is also going to be sort of managing power delivery to this chip. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about. Let me not go into that. But yeah, so you have a bunch of extra double the compute units with the dedicated memory. So it's very different than what Ryzen Mobile is using. Plus you have not easier, but the thermal management, because it's two separate die, you're not going to have as much bleed from the CPU to the GPU, depending on load. So it's probably going to be pretty darn fast. I guess we're going to know soon. And the numbers that Chris got, keep in mind, this is early, and this thing's not even ready for prime time yet. So I think it's going to be a real winner. And it's kind of funny to see AMD and Intel working together this way, but whatever, man. If it's a cool product, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Whatever, I'm the same way. Bring it. Yeah, it's just another another option for folks that do more than just work, but also it's great for the creative professional as well when you think about having GPU horsepower and a notebook of this size. Somebody noted in the chat, Pure Essence, you're absolutely right. The early sort of projections that Intel and AMD were making on this chip were that it was going to be north of a GTX 1050 in terms of performance, and GTX 1060 class possible performance. We've got some numbers which we will be rolling up with some hands-on very shortly, and we can compare that to what we have for Ryzen 5 and what we have for current generation 8th gen with integrated Intel graphics as well. So we will know exactly and what it can do in versus Max-Q designs with Nvidia GTX 1050, 60, 70, 80 as well. So we'll map that all out for y'all, and stick around because it's going to be fun to see the initial numbers. We've got some data to work with here. Wild stuff. And Marco, I don't think there's a whole lot that's not disclosed at this point. I don't know, but I don't think we have to worry about it. The NDA has been lifted pretty good, and Dell's given some early information as well on the XPS 15 2-in-1. I'd like to get my hands on HP's machine. Have you seen the 15 Spectre X360 15 2-in-1? You see it at the show?
Yeah, I did. I played with it at a couple different spots. I'm a fan of HP's design. I love Dell's design too. HP's design is pretty darn beautiful too. Don't have numbers. I didn't get to run any numbers, but all of the machines that have been announced that use this chip, I think, are going to be appealing. They're all really nice. There's no this is a chip for a premium product, and it already shows this early stage before they've even launched. Yeah.
Good stuff. Love to see it. Love to see what they can do with it. And related to that, Intel also stepped out with their next generation Canyon NUC, which is basically it's Hades Canyon, but it's their next generation gaming and or high performance NUC, next unit of computing, small form factor PC. Intel crams Core i7 with AMD Radeon RX Vega M in pint-sized Hades Canyon NUC. There it is right there with the skull that says Intel, I'm gaming and I mean business. Good stuff. That is the next generation NUC based on this chip. We fully expect to get that in as soon as it's available, which hopefully should be, weeks now, not months. And we have been told it is really, an impressive little machine that is VR capable. That's what Intel is claiming, VR capable. And when you think VR capable in a discrete system, not a laptop, not a handset, you're talking able to run Oculus, Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. That would be pretty cool if you can get full VR capability and a machine that small. think about the potential for that. You can plug that sucker almost anywhere. Marco, what do you think about a VR NUC, man?
I think it's awesome. I saw it running a game. It's smooth. It's the real deal. Again, no performance numbers yet. Again, that's early. But I was there using that NUC. It's quiet. It's fast. It's a good looking machine, even with thousands of geeks getting their fingerprints on it before I got to it. I think that machine is going to kick major butt. If you like those small form factors, but you don't want to sacrifice on performance, I think that NUC is going to be a killer product. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Paul, is this your kind of thing? Do you deal in the small form factor stuff in the home theater environment or something like that?
Yeah, I'm actually intrigued by the mini PCs. I played with a bunch of Zotac's, their Z boxes, like the Magnus and the other ones. Some of them are aimed at gamers, some of them are general purpose. But I'm intrigued by having that amount of performance in such a small box. And on this, the NUC, it looks like they have a lot of connectivity on there as well, which is kind of a side thought on this. But I was looking at the ports on the back and the front. You have 2 LAN ports, a whole mess of USB ports, USB Type-C and Type-A. You got some Thunderbolt on there, and of course HDMI. So this is going to be a fun little device to play with.
It'll do 6 displays at once simultaneously. It's pretty cool.
Wow, out of that little thing, man. Wow.
Yep.
That is pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see how that sets up in the lab when we get it, and we will be itching to kick the tires on the Intel Hades Canyon NUC. John, let's skip down the list a little bit, and let's pull up the Dell XPS 15 2-in-1 and see if we can give some visuals on that. This is also based on that same chip. We actually have gotten more quality time with this and testing this laptop. And before we move on, I wanted to highlight that. So the XPS 15 2-in-1, it is a new machine for Dell, and in the sense that yes, it's the XPS 15 platform, but now in a thinner, lighter 2-in-1 format. So that's got that 360-degree hinge, the Infinity Edge display with very thin bezels, as you can see, of course, but that display has also been revamped. You now have a higher brightness, higher contrast display, 400 nits of brightness, so very punchy display in terms of luminance and output. 400 nits of brightness, 15,000 to 1 contrast ratio, which has been cranked up from 1,000 to 1, or excuse me, 10,000 to 1, I think. Well, I'm trying to get my numbers right. Anyways, it is absolutely a very well dialed machine, very well appointed machine to house this new processor from Intel and AMD. And so we're looking forward to get our hands on that as well. Chris got his hands on that. You lucky guy. He was out at Dell, was able to test it. Marco and I have gotten some hands-on time, but we weren't able to really test it. Chris was able to play with it a bit more. But it's a great looking machine. We think it's going to do very well in terms of performance when we can get our hands on that chip and get it into the test bed. But really good stuff. Dell is hitting out of the park these days. That is a beautiful machine, carbon fiber, and the usual accoutrements that that premium setup that is the XPS 15 line, now thinner and lighter with a better display. You've also got, actually, they made it thinner and lighter, and they added something to the keyboard as well. You've got rare earth magnets in the keyboard, which add for tactility. So because you can't have as much key travel in a very thin and light machine, I think they're only like 7 millimeters of key travel, or 0.7 millimeters rather. So you need to somehow give a little bit better feel, a little bit better tactility because of that key travel so shallow in a thin machine like that. So they added rare earth magnets to give you a little bit more punch, and it actually feels pretty good. Marco, you're a keyboard snob. Would it pass muster for you?
It did. It felt pretty nice. And when we have a logical break, there's a bunch of questions I want to get to in the chat. But yeah, the keyboard on the XPS 15, it sounds. I mean, it is radically different with the magnets that sort of float the keys.
Yeah.
But when you feel it, it just feels like a good keyboard. It's not some weird, crazy feel. Dell's done a nice job with this. And I had some specific questions about that. They use rare earth magnets. I was like, why not use an electromagnet so you can sort of dial the pressure in on the fly? And they did a study, and sort of the weighting they chose and the power of the rare earth magnets and the reliability of them was the way to go. And it's a nice keyboard. You will not be disappointed.
That's what strikes me about Dell these days. They're putting a ton of research into their machines, and there's some really interesting choices in terms of materials and build quality with these machines lately. And this is just another one of those examples where they're stepping out of the box and looking at better solutions to, you know, design and construction of a notebook, not just, hey, make it thinner, lighter, and more beautiful. You know, how can we build it better as well? And so that's good stuff. Yeah, I played with that keyboard as well, and I thought it felt great. A heck of a lot better than a standard membrane dome switch or whatever. So let's answer those questions, Marco, and then we'll move on to a little bit more Dell and then some stuff from a Lenovo too.
Yeah, so apologies if I mispronounced this. Kyrie Howard was asking, he's hoping that the new Ryzen's overclock higher based, you know, considering that Threadripper did 4.2. I did see, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, but I did see one overclock higher than typical. Don't expect crazy changes in the overclocking. We also have guys wondering about multi-GPU. It's not a matter of Nvidia and AMD sort of stepping away from multi-GPU. It's that DirectX 12 makes it a whole heck of a lot harder, and developers have to code for discrete multi-GPU support in the game, and it's just not really happening. Plus, today's GPUs are pretty darn fast with a single GPU, so there's just less of a focus on multi-GPU. There was also a question on why can't AMD just use Infinity Fabric to link two GPUs on a PCB. Technically, they could, but the latency of getting all that data across and shared between the two GPUs to actually function as one is a hugely a difficult problem to solve. So don't expect that to happen anytime soon. And someone was asking about Vega in a Mac. No one's announced anything using that custom chip with Vega, but I would not be surprised if Intel did sell that to Apple. You can get Vega in the new iMac Pro. Don't have an answer on the weight of the NUC, and I think that is it. Oh, someone asked about, what did they ask about Navi? There's some comments about AMD's next-gen Navi architecture. What I can tell you, what AMD disclosed is that it's coming along nicely. It's going to have perf per watt improvements. Other than that, not much was disclosed. So hope that helps.
Yeah, I went scanning here for the weight on the NUC, and I'm not seeing it either. We don't have specifics on that yet, but we'll be getting it real soon. It's light.
The dimensions on are a little bigger than the Skull Canyon version, and that one's about 3.5 pounds. So it's probably going to be between 3.5 and 4 pounds, would be my guess.
It's got a full 100-watt cooler in it. I had it in my hand in the video. It's not light, but it's not heavy. If you had a little backpack, it's totally not going to bother you.
Cool. Very cool. Well, Marco, do you have your XPS 13 with you?
I can get it if I don't knock over the
you don't have
notebooks on top of it. No, I have it right here. But there's 3 other notebooks on it. Here it is.
I got one too. Ready? Let's do it simultaneously.
There's going to be a bunch of people at CES pissed that we have 2. Look at that.
I'm bringing sexy back. Yep. This thing is gorgeous. So this is we talked about this a little bit, but in previous webcasts, but this is the XPS 13. It is newly revamped for 2018. It is based on Intel 8th gen processor technology, Kaby Lake R. And what you're looking at is the Alpine White version of it with a woven spun glass, fiberglass, composite glass construction material. And it is just really well done. Infinity Edge display, again, a punchy 40 nits brightness, Infinity Edge display, 13.3 inch in this case. And that palm rest area is just super nice feeling. It's a little bit not quite as, I guess, satiny and rubbery as there's a little bit of a rubbery feel to the XPS 13 with carbon. This feels a little bit smooth, a little bit more rigid. Really well-built machine and performs really well as well, Marco, right? We did some testing on this. We tackled the joint review on this, and Dell also built a unique cooling solution for this machine as well. So they took that quad-core 8th gen Kaby Lake R, again, stuck in this machine, which is like 2.7 pounds. It's like super light. And they designed a dual heat pipe solution that actually allows the machine to maintain boost longer and throttle less. So as a result, it actually scored across the board in almost everything we threw at it, right? If I'm not mistaken, almost everything we threw at it was at the top of the benchmark charts for us. So now you've got a super well-built machine, looks fabulous. Again, premium materials, again, designing things out of the box, you know, not just going with the same old, you know, whatever materials for the keyboard rest, just really sort of out of the box thinking on design approach for laptops. Also hitting the top performance in our family of tests with dozens of machines. So, I mean, you got to hand it to Dell these days. It's like, man, they're just knocking it out of the park. This thing's beautiful, looks great. Rose gold. Do I have that right? Yeah. Rose gold finish. And with that white, talk about a beautiful machine. Certainly the ladies are going to love this thing. I like it. I'd use it. I'm secure in my masculinity. I don't think it's that feminine per se, but I think it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful machine with great performance in a very thin and light 13-inch machine. I like a little bit bigger keyboard area. For me, I like more of a 14-15 format. The XPS 15 2-in-1 might just be perfect, by the way. But Marco, this is like all you. Like you really like that small 13-inch. It's more like a 12-inch format, right?
Yeah, if somebody picked my brain on what I want in a notebook, it would be this machine. No, like I'm not even joking. It's like exactly what I want in a notebook. And even it's called rose gold. It looks more champagne to me. It doesn't have that maybe the slightest hue, but it looks more champagne. Agreed. It's a beautiful machine. I cannot speak more highly about this particular XPS 13. It's the fastest 13-inch Ultrabook we've tested. It uses innovative materials. It doesn't get hot. It doesn't get loud, but you can configure the cooling anyway with Dell's Power Companion software. Like it's almost no compromise. The only thing people almost universally complain about is the webcam position. I don't use my webcam on my notebook all that often. If I'm going to do a podcast on the road, I'm going to bring my, high-end webcam with me and just plug it into USB. So I don't know. I really love the machine, and I too would be perfectly fine carrying around this white rose gold option.
So I'm holding up my machine just to show that webcam position. And as you can see, it's in the center here now. It's a Windows Hello camera. And actually, the position is a little bit better than the previous gen XPS series, where the camera was located in this corner back here. So that is really an odd position for it, to be honest. Yeah, you'd love to have it up on the top, so it's more eye level, but there's no room up in that bezel because the bezel's so thin. There's no room up there, but they located it in the center now. So that's definitely a better angle, and you can sort of do it a little bit, tilt it up a little bit more, a little bit wider swing on the hinge to get a little bit better angle. But yeah, that's the one drawback of that Infinity Edge display. It's a design choice. I think it's a compromise they had to make and still continue to make. And I think that's a wise choice. I think, people love this design. It's selling like hotcakes. So
just trim your nose hair and you're good. Don't worry about that angle.
I was thinking get a webcam, but yeah, you can trim your nose hair too. Yeah,
just trim the nose hair. You're fine.
You don't worry about a USB webcam. Just make sure you're groomed well. Damn it.
That's it.
Paul, what do you think of the machine? Look good to you?
Yeah, and I'd recently reviewed the previous gen or the late 2017 model with the Kaby Lake refresh, and that one was really nice as well. And this one does have some improvements, like you said. The webcam's over in the middle instead of off to the side now. So I think that one and what Marco was saying earlier, the HP Spectre X360, I think those are my two favorite ultra portables at the moment, as far as overall design.
You're a good straight man, Paul, because that tees us up for the next one that Marco saw, and it's actually from Lenovo. It's not from Dell or HP. This is a personal favorite machine of mine. It's my daily driver, or one of my daily drivers in the past has been the X1 Carbon series. I'm currently running a ThinkPad X1 Yoga with OLED display because I'm an OLED freak. I just love OLED. But I really like the keyboards in the Lenovo machines. Again, they have that 14-inch format for me, which is a little bit bigger than 13. It's not quite 15. They do a nice small format. The ThinkPad X1 Carbon which is a 14-inch machine that's really been trimmed down. Marco, you got hands time on it. It's been trimmed down. It's more of a 13-inch form factor, even though it's that 14-inch display. What do you know about this thing? The display has been amped up seriously as well, right?
Yeah, so it's actually really gorgeous. Like Dave mentioned, this is one of his favorite notebooks. It's his daily driver right now. And if you take the current model and sort of update it with Intel 8th gen NVMe, fast NVMe storage, and sort of refine it in a couple different spots, you end up with this model. It's got sort of a new blacked out logo. There's a new X1 logo that's on the lid as well. But this particular option that Dave's mentioning with this HDR screen, it's freaking awesome. So Dave and I have both fallen in love with OLED displays. When you see it, it's like, wow, the OLEDs are gorgeous. But OLEDs sort of have issues with power consumption on notebooks. There's more risk of burn-in than with an LCD display. So Lenovo sort of wanted to mitigate both of those issues. And what they did was help develop this beautiful, I'm already forgetting the name. It's a Dolby HDR screen, with 100% color gamut, super bright. Dave, was it 400 nits? I don't remember. 500. I don't remember the number.
I think it's 500 nits output on that display. Yeah.
And it's a nice thin stack, so minimal parallaxing. And I have some pics. There's some pics in the article. Brandon put it together, but there's a pic showing it side by side with the standard IPS display. It's so bright and so crisp and so nice. You would mistake it for OLED without the negatives of OLED. It's just a really nice display. So you couple the really great design of the ThinkPad X1 Carbon, throw this gorgeous screen in there, update all the internals with Intel 8th gen, and you have a really nice notebook.
Yeah, man. So that you actually taking a look at that picture in the article there. So you've got on the left, sort of a little bit further down on the left, you've got the first or the previous generation machine, not the first generation, but the previous generation X1 Carbon. Next to it's that new HDR screen, and it is dramatic. Yeah, the viewing angles are better, the brightness output. If it's OLED competitive, I'm sold, man.
So that picture was brightness all the way up on both machines. So and from that angle, not only can you see the better viewing angle on the new one, but how much brighter it is. And I think we lost the stream. Oh, we're coming back. Okay. Wow,
we lost the stream. Okay, that was a little bit of a hiccup there with YouTube. Oh well, we're back. Yeah, no, good stuff. Again, laptop guys are really up in their game these days, and the folks at Lenovo are really kicking some serious butt as well. The X1 Carbon, there is a yoga version of it as well with the same goodness in the display. We have some spinning going on. Hopefully the stream is still going, and we're getting audio, but we'll keep rolling and hope for the best. The other machine that you saw, Marco, was the Mixx 630 from Lenovo, powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon 835, right?
I did, and I was surprised by it. So Dave saw these machines firsthand when he went out to Qualcomm's event last month. Obviously, I know a lot about them, knew what was coming, but I hadn't played with one hands-on. So I got to spend a little time with the Mixx 630. And I have to say, it's pretty snappy, pretty nice, typical, awesome Lenovo build quality. Targeting 20 hours of battery life. The one I played with, which had been on in the Lenovo suite, was showing maybe 15–20% longer than that 20 hours. I don't want to disclose the number because it's not done. And poking around through the Windows interface and opening apps and messing around on the machine, you would not know this was not an x86 notebook. It just felt like I was running Windows 10. Now, this particular model, and all of them are going to come with Windows 10s. You can upgrade for free to Windows 10 Pro. So 10s, you're only allowed to run apps from the Windows Store. But even still, it comes with Office. You have, the typical stuff built into Windows itself. And with all of those native apps, I was surprised at how snappy it was. It's not the fastest notebook, but it was perfectly snappy. And you're going to get this crazy battery life out of it. I'm interested to see where this goes. Some people are saying, oh, it's just another netbook. It really isn't. They're premium machines with exceptional battery life that's always connected. So it's sort of a new class. We got to see how this plays out.
Yeah. I was on hand in Maui at Qualcomm Snapdragon Summit and saw the launch of the Snapdragon 835 powered notebooks, and to use those, and I tried the HP and I tried the Asus machine as well. So that's 3 manufacturers now that have stepped out, major names, major players stepped out with these machines. To use them in person is to understand what you're getting into. It is a full Windows experience. Things feel just as snappy. There's certainly going to be use cases where you're going to want more horsepower. I'm sure of it. You're talking about essentially an SoC that powers a smartphone. But for the mainstream user, this thing could very well be a major impact in the market. And to have the major players, the major OEMs like Lenovo now stepping up, Asus and HP, that's a ringing endorsement. No word from Dell yet, but there's certainly some inertia behind this thing. So good stuff. We're going to keep rolling. It looks like we may be back. Who knows? The stream is coming back now. We're going to keep rolling and hope the gods are with us. Paul, I don't know if you got to look at these, but we can bring you into the discussion on this one for sure. The BFGD initiative from Nvidia, big format gaming displays from Nvidia, 65-inch Acer Predator, 65-inch HP Omen X, I believe, model, and then in the Asus 65-inch gaming monitor. These are gaming monitors now, not TVs. They have onboard G-Sync, onboard built-in Nvidia Shield Shield TV set-top streamer built into the TV. So now you've got the streamer built in. You've got G-Sync for adaptive refresh for gaming, for jitter-free gaming, all built into this gorgeous 65-inch panel. Paul, is this your home theater nirvana?
It could be. I mean, this is what we needed to see in the, I want to say TV market. I know they're not technically TVs because they don't have a built-in tuner. I don't know how many of us actually use the built-in tuners anyway on our home sets. But yeah, as far as whenever you go searching or shopping for a big screen TV, or at least when I do, I'm trying to look at what's the input lag on there. How does it game? How does it display movies and all that stuff? But gaming performance definitely plays a role. And this, I think, is a big move that, targets that directly. My one concern with it is I'm pretty sure you're going to lose G-Sync if you connect through a surround sound receiver. I don't think there's really a way to do that. If you take advantage of different inputs and connect your PC directly to that, and then, run an optical cable, you can get around it that way. So we'll see. Pricing is going to be a big factor, obviously, as well.
Yeah. But they're 120 hertz displays. Should give a few more specs. 120 hertz, 4K HDR displays. So all the check boxes, right? Fast refresh for great gaming, 4K HDR, high dynamic range, color output, with onboard G-Sync and NVIDIA Shield. Marco, you actually saw these things. What do you think about them when you saw them out at CES?
I'm intrigued. Let's see. I can probably answer a bunch of Paul's questions. So I think you're right about G-Sync not working through a receiver, but I believe you can use HDMI ARC to bring the audio back, so you can connect directly to the screen and then use the HDMI ARC for audio to come back to your receiver. The panels that were shown at CES were obviously fairly early. So all three of the ones that were shown used the same actual panel, and Acer, HP, and Asus just sort of different design language on the front. They are super bright. I felt like I was going to get a tan. I was in a room with three of them, one behind and two in front. And it was like, whoa, they're super bright. They're gorgeous to see with everything lit up. There were some little quirks that had to be worked out, but they're early. You kind of have to expect that. And I was told pricing, if you looked at the current TV market for a 65-inch true 120 hertz 4K panel, they will be in that neighborhood. That all those details are still being hammered out though.
I wonder what a 4K 120 hertz TV goes for these days. I'm trying to think.
There's a wide range from anywhere from 700 to 2000.
Yeah,
more.
I didn't know if the 120 hertz mattered and HDR in terms of that price range. I mean, yeah, you can get 4K TVs for like $600, $700.
Yeah, you can get a 4K 60 hertz HDR panel for even cheaper. To get 120 hertz, actual 120 hertz is more, but it's not exorbitant.
Gotcha.
So there's a fairly large range.
So you think
true 120 hertz is an important distinction too when you're looking at the price, because I know a lot of the cheaper ones, they're labeled as 120 hertz, but they're not really.
Yeah, they call it like real motion 120 or some sort of marketing term when it's because it has motion compensation. It sort of looks like 120, but the actual panel's still 60. It's not real.
How can they do that? You know, that is such snake oil.
Because people don't know. You know, and you know what's funny? The purists tell you to shut off all that motion compensation, and it's gonna, you're gonna be showing 23.99 frames per second video or 24 frames per second video on it anyway. So 60 is fine.
Yeah. Oh, the nice thing about this too is, you've got NVIDIA Shield TV in there as well. Marco, you're a fan of Shield. I've used it. I like it a lot too. Now you get all sorts of automation involved as well. So now you've got voice support. You've got Google Assistant built into this machine. Okay. So it's a smart TV as well, a very smart TV, and arguably one of the best streamers, movie streamers, video content streamers on the market with what NVIDIA does with the Shield platform in general. You can control IoT devices, smart home automation devices from, Nest thermostats to, lights and all that different stuff. Impressive to have all that horsepower. You're talking about building in, a $200 Shield device, another, G-Sync is some more. So it's not going to be cheap, but I wonder what the final price is going to be for the entire package, because it packs a lot into, a neat, bundled up 65-inch beauty.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. We'll see what happens in the long term. Last year, NVIDIA showed a couple monitors that still aren't out, so we'll see. I think we're going to have some time to wait and figure these out.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so too. I mean, it's nice to see HP, Acer, and Asus stepping out with these. So that says some critical mass behind it. But your impression was it's still early, right?
Yeah. The ones that were shown were early, and it's not fair to sort of make any judgments on them.
Yeah. There you go. Cool. Well, let's wrap up because we're getting near the top of the hour and the internet gods were messing with us earlier anyways. But before we do, let's talk about what we've got to give away that could entice folks in a big way from our friends at Lenovo. Marco?
Yes, sir. You want me to do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, dive in.
Cool. 2 podcasts ago, we announced the current giveaway. It's still running for, about a little more than a week. 3 awesome prizes up for grabs. First prize is a Lenovo Yoga 920 14-inch Ultrabook based on an Intel 8th Gen Core i7 processor. Gorgeous 13.9-inch screen on this guy with touch. Second prize, a Lenovo Legion Y720 Cube gaming rig. Got a Core i5, 8 gigs of RAM, and a Radeon RX 480 in that bad boy. Third prize, Lenovo Star Wars Jedi Challenges AR kit. We reviewed the Jedi Challenges kit. It's a very fun augmented reality game system, basically, where you pop in a compatible cell phone and you can battle some of the legends from the Star Wars universe. Really cool package. All you have to do to win could not be any easier. Come by the site, participate in our comment system, have a chat, make some friends, like a couple of Facebook pages, and that's it. Those are your entries. And, you have a shot at winning these prizes. We give away lots of cool stuff. You'll notice a bunch of the initial comments in this thread are from past winners. This stuff is all legit. We give away cool stuff. Come on by and win some of it.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. We actually do giveaway stuff on a regular basis. Like almost every month, we have a major giveaway with one of our OEM partners that we work closely with. And Lenovo stepped up and they said, hey, for the holidays, we have all this great gear. We'd like to give back to the community. We'd like to work with you guys to do that. And yeah, we give away really good stuff. And folks, it's funny, you know, longtime readers of the site that have been with us that have won over the years because they've hung around, you know, chimed in on that thread. They're like, I'm a past winner and this is the real deal. And, you know, your odds are not that big. It's not like the lottery where it's 1,000,000 to 1, you're going to hit the Powerball or whatever. It's actually pretty good. And so we get, you know, 3 prizes up for grabs. Paul, would you like one of these prizes? Would you like that little cubie? I bet you the cube is all you, right?
Yes, I've been commenting like crazy. So please.
Yeah, I don't think that would be too legit to award you with one. Sorry, Paul. You have privileges that others don't. But yeah, we do like to give back, and we do it on a regular basis. So come on by the site, check out that giveaway, the HotHardware and Lenovo Hot Holiday giveaway, which really is more like a hot holiday / CES giveaway at this point. We're stretched it out because we got a little bit late start in the end of December there, but good stuff up for grabs. Check it out. 8th gen Intel processor notebooks from Lenovo, and nice gaming system, and the Star Wars Jedi Challenges VR kit, or AR kit, I should say. It's actually pretty cool. Augmented reality kit. That's it for now, folks. Swing on by. We will be here. We'll swing on by the site. We're at hothardware.com. We are at twitter.com/hothardware, facebook.com/hothardware, youtube.com/hothardware or hothardware vids, Google Plus, of course, plus HotHardware, all kinds of places where you can find us. We will be back here every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, hopefully without fail. If we do fail, we'll let you know, and we'll bump to another day or something like that. But this is our normal slot from now on. Stay with us. It's good to have you with us, and thanks for stopping by.